USA Today recently ran an article, and it was an interesting one. It was called "What Rose Started." And the author in this piece was basically saying, is there any way that we can kind of tone down the civil debate and all this kind of discrediting of one another and demonization of one another, left versus right and Democrat versus Republican, and can we find some common ground? Can we try to be more charitable towards one another and look for common ground in some of these hot button issues that we're dealing with? Well, I think he makes some great points, and I want to always be respectful. We should be with one another. But in our quest for, common ground, we have to be careful that we don't dilute truth. Because, according to the Hebrew Christian Bible, there is true truth. There is objective truth. Now, some people say, now, wait a minute, hold it, man. Truth is narrow. We got to be more progressive and open-minded. But, I'm going to be getting on a plane in the next 24 hours. And I'm glad when I do that pilot looks for a narrow runway. It's kind of like, he looks for that narrow runway. He's not just going to land on houses or anywhere in the city. He looks for somewhere that's narrow. And truth is narrow. H2O, 2 elements of hydrogen, 1 of oxygen. That's what water is. You can't add other elements. And, in a similar way, there are issues, hot button issues today, that even though we want to be respectful of one another and we want to listen to one another, that we have to be able to say there is objective, authoritarian truth, biblical truth. Take some issues. People say all world religions are the same. It doesn't matter. Buddhist, Muslim, Hindu, Christian, we're all one and the same. But that's not really what the Hebrew Christian Bible reveals. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to be in a relationship with God except through me. And in a similar way, the Bible tells us this. In the book of Acts, it says that there is salvation in no one else except in the person of Jesus Christ. Now, for some that seems narrow, but that's truth. In a similar way, when people talk of the sanctity of life, here we have almost 50 million babies every year that are being, thwarted and their lives are being taken out in the womb. And yet there's people that say, well, let's just reduce abortion and talk about adoption and just find some common ground. Well, I believe in being charitable, but we also have to be clear. And we have to respect and speak up for the unborn. And there's not a way that we just kind of dilute it down and say it really doesn't matter. We're called to defend human life, the sanctity of human life. Same thing with same-sex marriage today. People say, hey, polygamy or gay marriage, it really doesn't matter. But that's inconsistent with all world religions, and it's also inconsistent with what the Hebrew Christian Bible tells us. Marriage is between a man and a woman. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, be joined to his wife, and the two become one flesh. That's what marriage is. Traditional marriage, biblical marriage, and all world religions have stood against same-sex marriage. So we have to, in a charitable way, speak up for the truth. So when people talk of today, let's find common ground and let's be very respectful, let's put an amen to that, but let's be careful in our quest for being civil and finding some common ground, that we don't dilute the truth that is very clearly revealed. True truth comes from the Hebrew Christian Bible.